Okay, so today I'm going to do a really short little grammar lesson which you can go away and practice to your heart's content. It's going to be about identifying and being able to change active sentences to passive sentences. And this really assists children in their writing to use a variety of different sentences, because otherwise it can get a bit repetitive. So we're going to learn what active is first. We're going to learn to identify the subject, the verb and the object. We're going to use this with really basic sentences to start with. It can get quite complex, but we're going to just start at the basics. And then we're going to learn how to change those active sentences into passive. And by the end of it, you should be able to identify an active sentence and all the parts of it, switch it into passive, and then even switch a passive back to active. So, what we will need to do, first of all, is identify the subject, the verb, and the object. We will need to be able to use the preposition by, and we need to be able to reorder the subject, verb, object to object, verb, subject, and I'll explain that in a second. An active sentence is when the subject performs the action stated by the verb. So I've got an example of one here. It says, Tom, who's the subject, changed, which is the verb, the flat tyre, the tyre being the object. So Tom changed the flat tyre. So you can see here I've put S in this box because this is the subject, V in this box because it's what they do. Can I change? Yes, I can. I always check verbs. Can I do it? Yes, I can. If someone asks me to change, I can go and do that. It's an action. Verbs are actions. Subjects are often, but not always, the person, and the object is fairly obvious, but it's what the subject is doing to the thing or other person sometimes. But in this case, it is an object. It's a tyre. Now, the passive voice is where the subject is acted upon by the verb. And this word by is key in this lesson because we're going to use quite simple sentences and we will require the word by in the passive voice. Now, I always challenge my children if they're identifying or making a passive verb subject saying, could you end your sentence with by zombies? And it's just something that they remember, okay? So in this example, it's for the same sentence. The tyre, so the object's coming first, was changed, the verb's in the middle still, by Tom. So it goes object, verb, subject. So you can see it's reversed. The thing that Tom did was exactly the same. It's just the ordering of the sentence where we're putting the object first and it was changed by Tom. And we need to use this preposition by. This is an active sentence. Can you identify using S for subject, V for verb and O for object the parts of this sentence? Anna hit the ball. So if you're following along, you should know that Anna is the subject. The verb is hit. Can I hit? Yes, I can. And the ball is the object. So remembering that it's Anna performing the action on the thing. It's the subject performing the action on the object. Okay. Now your challenge next is to see if you can change this sentence. So you're going to have to change the order and you're going to have to include the preposition by into a passive sentence. So have a go at that now. Written is the ball was hit by Anna. Next challenge in this is can you find the subject, the verb and the object and label them in this sentence. Have a go. So what you should have done is labelled the ball as the object. Hit is the action, it's still the verb, and Anna is still the subject. So what happens from the passive, the active to the passive is in this active sentence we have subject, verb and object. And in this one we have object, verb and subject. So on my next shot I'm going to show you some active sentences which you need to label and then create passive sentences from them. Have a go. So here are some active sentences for you to label with subject, verb and object, and then switch into passive. Just make sure that you do include the preposition by when you're changing them into passive. The rules are the same for each one, although some of them feel more tricky than others. So have a go, and I will be publishing the answers in a second. On question 1, the cat sat on the mat. You should have recognised that the cat is the subject, that sat is what the cat did, the action the cat did is sat, and the mat is the object. The sentence for this is the mat, so this is the object, was sat on, verb, by the cat, subject. So the cat sat on the mat becomes the mat was sat on by the cat. And remember, I always say by zombies or whatever at the end. If you can say by zombies at the end, you've probably got it right. So the mat was sat on by zombies would also make sense. Reveal all the answers now, one by one. I haven't labelled them all, but I will go through the parts of these sentences as we go. So question 2, the man walked along the street. That's the active. The man is the subject. Walked is what he did, which is the verb. And the street is the object. And in the passive, it becomes the street was walked along by the man. Question 3, the girl called her friend. The girl is the subject. Called is what she did, is the verb. And friend is the object. The friend was called by the girl. The boy scored a goal. The boy is the subject. Scored is the verb and goal is the object. The goal was scored by the boy. Active, the girl slept in her bed. The girl is the subject. Slept is the verb, it's what she did. And her bed is the object. Bed is the object. Oh, and I've missed it out here. That was meant to say bed. The bed was slept in by the girl. Always good to check your work. Active, the princess sat on the throne. Princess is the subject. Sat is what she did, it's the verb. And throne is the object. And turning it into passive is the throne was sat on by the princess. So, going back to our original statement, we should be able to change those basic active sentences now into passive. We should also be able to recognise the subject, the verb and the object, and we should be able to use the preposition. We should be able to use the preposition by. You can extend this activity by looking in your current reading book or in a piece of text to identify any active sentences that you can find, and then seeing if you can change them, or likewise now to find some passive sentences, seeing if you can change them back to active. Hope you had fun. Bye.